very start of the game, right?
Yeah, and in order to understand how did we get here, let's start with the starting position. C4 played in all the boards, so black reacted with C5. I think something that white is also happy with, when you know that, yes, please play the symmetry, I know what I'm doing, then it is more than welcome. B4, targeting and making sure that the queen is already active. Black played D6. This is so far the same as the Sindarov game with Parham, but here Magnus played the move B5, stopping any kind of bishop A4 ideas, and that makes so much sense because white fixes a nice structure, and black plays the move G6, tries to develop the bishop, of course, activates, actually the bishop does not need to be developed already, the move G6 develops the bishop. The long diagonal D6, very systematic approach, B6, G3, white does the same, black plays knight C7, and Magnus immediately opted for bishop C3, trading the lovely dark square bishop, the powerful bishop on the long diagonal. So we see the trade, trade on C3, knight D7, A4, knight F6, black is slowly shuffling out the pieces, but what will be the destiny of black's queen on B8 in the long run? That's my question to Judith.
That's a tough question. That's a very tough question. What is that piece doing there?
I would like to add just very quickly that I think that Hans has handled the situation extremely well. He is playing fast and he's playing good moves. This maneuver of bringing the knight to F6, leaving the E6 square available, and he set up the possibility to castle short as well, just as Magnus did. So yeah, Magnus has an advantage, has a lovely position, but black is kind of solid.
Yeah, but actually one of the first position which really looks like a classical game. It could
Like
start out with an English game. The pieces are, I mean, okay, knight on E3.
A5 is black. Sorry that I interrupted. We have the yeah, and there is a lockdown possibility. A5. Thank you very much. At least we got rid of those problems there. Let's try to block everything.
Nice move.
Yeah.
Though A5 was also not deadly dangerous all the time because A6 was possible with black also. But if black can stop this and close the position, and I don't think white can capture it, and he does not. He plays D4.
They are speeding up. Yeah, D4, a tough decision, a logical decision from Magnus. Yeah, he wants to make sure that black is not able to lock everything down, but the move knight E6, such a committal decision played just in fraction of a second. Yeah, Hans wants to trade the knights. He goes knight D4, hitting the E2 pawn and setting up the trade. Of course, white cannot take on D4, that would be horrible. Would lose the game on the spot after the fork with C4, queen B2. Very nicely, Magnus will want to provoke the trade on.
Will black play E5?
Yeah, that's a big question. How will he do it? Because now, in long terms, of course, white has potential in the king side, yeah?
Yeah, in the long run, of course, white moves away his knight from E3, pushes away the D4 knight, plays E4, F4.
Then the knight comes back to E3 or knight F2, depending, and we'll be threatening. Yeah, let me just highlight. So we are basically talking about knight D1. We somehow force provoke this trade on B3. Yeah, E5 played, and then we would start rolling our pawns with E4, F4, and so on. But yeah, Hans anticipates this and goes E5 himself.
Well, it's a very logical move. And also from B8, the queen will get back through C7 or rook C8 to E8 and queen D8.
Yes, so D6 basically is obligatory. Yeah, Magnus goes D6. That was the reason why I was not 100% sure what are the consequences of this en passant move D6, FE6. Because, yeah, black gets some dynamic, but also he has long-term weakness.
I was not sure. I was not sure I would take with F.
Yeah,
to tell you,
bishop.
To be honest, I just wanted to take with the bishop.
Yes,
FE6, it can be some dangerous.
But bishop E6 was apparently not possible due to our friend.
Maybe rook D3.
Let me just cheat. Yeah, there, rook D3 is too strong. Yeah, so I was
rook
cheating.
D3 and knight B3, queen F6 possible.
And yeah, it's already some very big plus for white. So that was a problem. So that's why he had to take with the pawn on E6. But okay, now he is kind of and rook e1 played.
Rook e1.
Small little move, rook e1.
Interesting. It wouldn't come to my mind.
Yeah, he just wanted to protect the pawn, but it means that he is intending to...
Does he want to go knight c2? That's the reason?
Let's see.
Or knight f1 and then...
Let's see. The body language signals that Magnus is happy. That's clear, but how happy and how long is the question. Because this king g7 is also something that you don't want to do with black. I don't know. Is this natural for you that you are stepping into this pin?
No, the last two moves is unexpected for me. I would rather want to have my queen on g7, for example.
Yes.
Not
that
my
would
king.
make a lot of sense.
I mean, somehow I have the feeling that on g7, having the queen on b2, something might show up. And or maybe just the problem that for black the f6 knight will be not so easy to move away when you want to go knight g4 or knight jump somewhere.
Yeah, or is he actually intending to block the long diagonal with e6, e5 and forget about the weakness on d5 and say that, you know, I have already a lot of weaknesses, because if that knight is eliminated from d4, then the d6 pawn will be a very big weakness, yes? So I don't really understand why not rook d3, targeting that, but e5 has to be the reaction for black.
Well, and even maybe at some point if knight moves back the e3 to d1, f1, c2, wherever, and white goes e3, maybe at some point black will be sacrificing his knight on d4.
Well, if you are overdoing things with white, then
Yeah.
definitely it's possible. But yeah, all eyes on Magnus, because his last move, rook e1, what was it all about?
Very strange move. Leaving the f2 pawn vulnerable at some point.
And it was played almost instantly. Yeah, he blitzed out rook e1 like, I know what I'm doing, and after king g7 he slowed down. Ah, okay, now I understand, because black really wants to play e5, and now we see rook d3, e5, knight d2 played.
Ah, so he wanted to play knight d2, that was the point.
Yeah, knight d2, and also if black plays e5, maybe he wanted to have the option to go knight d5, trade that knight, and then play e3. That also, so I think that was the multi-purpose idea behind the rook e1. Knight d2. Slow regrouping.
Knight d2. Is white's plan to play knight e4?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, it would be.
Or he wants to go more knight d5,
to trade these
exchange,
guys.
yeah, and then play e3 and knight e4.
Yes, yes, that's basically both are on the cards, I guess. Both are very tempting.
Yeah, now black has to be careful a lot, because if white can consolidate his position,
Then white will be winning.
then white is winning.
Exactly, because this backward pawn on d6 will pay a very heavy
Yeah.
price. And once the knight will be forced to move from d4, black's position falls apart. Yeah, so this is what Hans needs to make sure that it will not happen, that he will somehow dynamically counterbalance these issues. But not easy. And Magnus's way of sitting, yeah, it just signals that I'm so happy. I have everything under control. Burn your time, my friend, because what you can do, you cannot do anything. I fixed the structure to my favor, and I'm going to kick you in the next couple of moves.
So maybe black should go bishop e6. That seems to be a logical continuation
Yes, putting
somehow.
some pressure on the only weakness on c4.
To control the d5 square also.
Let's just very quickly show that after a move like bishop e6, if white hops into d5, that would already give black the chance to change the character of the game. And all of a sudden, okay, bishop d5, I mean knight d5 is not the right move. What, bishop d5 is better, yeah?
Bishop e6 on the board.
Yeah, bishop e6. And now suddenly there we are not talking about an eternal weakness. Yeah, it is a weakness, but black has all kind of counterplay with c4. So this is certainly not what black intends to give black counter chances. Black has to fight for them. Bishop e6, good move. Targeting the only pawn. What happens if we just follow it up with the idea that we anyway had like knight e4?
Yeah, knight e4 takes, bishop takes, though I'm not sure I have to take it.
Okay, but
Not sure.
anyway, what you do? Queen c7, rook d8 does not really scare me.
Is it possible to play d5? Or it's too much?
Wow, d5.
Knight f6, dc4
Yes, I understood that this is what
is my intermediate
intending.
idea.
And normally, intuitively, I say, no, I don't want this. Yeah, from white. If I have advantage, I don't need adventures. I need advantage. Yes. So d5. Can I play knight g5 and then insist that if dc, I'm keeping my structure?
Yeah, maybe knight g5.
Yes. And then dc, just very quickly to highlight that again, it's a dream scenario. Everything falls apart. It's weak squares for black.
But white played knight d5.
Wow, really? What? Breaking news. This is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Knight d5. This is a move I would have told you that Magnus will never play in this position. I would have ruled out this move. So what is he up to?
Well, because after exchanging the piece on d5, white knight from d2 has an optimal square on c4.
Yeah, but the bishop on h1 gets logged out of the game. I don't know. It's maybe this bishop d5 cd and then c4. I'm just sacrificing this pawn so that I get rook c5, rook fc8. I get coordination. I don't know. Something intuitively tells me that I just hate this decision.
Well, it's a surprising move.
Yes. So, for example, let me just try to highlight what I'm talking about. So I push this, rook c3, I'm gonna sacrifice the pawn. You, I don't know, you take, for example, I play rook fc8, you play rook ec1, yes, you are pawn up, but I have some great...
Well, okay,
great
queen
grip.
c7 maybe.
Yeah, queen c7, okay, anyway, I'm not threatening anything, you can maybe kick my knight away with e3. Yeah, okay, maybe Magnus is a computer and can judge this, but by the way, actually, the computer itself was critical of what was it? Rook c3.
He took with the knight.
Wow.
Taking with the knight, probably moving the bishop to f5 with a tempo, or bishop
he moved to
g4 with a
g4.
tempo.
Yeah, but it does not stop us to go knight c4, no? Can't we just play knight c4 what we wanted?
Yeah, but...
Then we cannot kick it away, yeah?
f3.
f3. Exclamation mark. Magnus, super sharp.
And what does he have in mind after bishop f5? Just move away rook c3 and the threat at e3, trapping the knight.
Exactly, he wants to trap that knight. And you said long ago that you want to be ready to sacrifice it. Then,
Yeah, but not with these kind of circumstances.
Yes, I understand.
Not when you have control over the c4 square.
Yeah, Hans is not happy. Clock situation more or less equal. 3.5 minutes each.
Time-wise, they are more or less the same. Little advantage for Magnus, but it's getting very tough.
Yeah, but I think that this
And very
F3
concrete.
F3 was actually a great trap, and Magnus had foreseen that it's very logical for black to take bishop g4 and make sure that always I'm ready against e3 to jump on f3, and then this f2 f3 small little move makes such a big impact to the position. So easy to miss. And at least I know why Magnus opted for knight d5. That was his big cheapo. That was a big cheapo. And now Hans realizes it. He already burns more than a minute on the clock.
Yeah, and the d4 knight will be pushed back
Yes.
by playing e3.
And when it's pushed back, then it's basically game over, because e3 and f4, also the king on g7 will feel very uncomfortable. E3, f4, and then knight c4, everything is just flowing in the right direction. So bishop h3 at least trying to have some checkmating ideas on f1, at least signaling your opponent that there is some danger, but Magnus is not the person who gets intimidated. Like
And now the king on g7 is not beneficial for black.
No, not at all.
Because all kind of knight f3, e4 moves could be something to consider.
Well, and one could argue that knight f5 is very much seemingly the only move, and Hans is taking his time because he knows that knight f5 is kind of capitulation. Yes, so Is this intermezzo with c4 and then sacrificing the pawn but not allowing the blockade? He goes knight f5. But yeah, look at the evil bar. It's exactly illustrates our feelings. Yeah, we feel exactly the same way as the evil bar here.
Black has a very difficult situation. Maybe we can go to bird's eye view. What do you think? Because I see some other games also developing. Or
Definitely,
you want to
but on the other hand, I think also,
here.
yeah, Magnus is now very much enjoying himself, and he
Knight
plays
e4.
knight e4. Wow,
Because he wants to go knight g5.
he wants to trap that bishop. He wants
Knight
to be on the
f2.
spot. So knight has to, but if it falls back to e7, that will be horrible. Knight h6, knight f7 would be some kind of a defensive setup long term. So yeah, he goes knight h6. This at least, if it does not lose on the spot, there are some chances to dig in with knight heading to f7.
Well, c4 will be there as a counterplay.
Yes. Because after all, knight e4 was a very ambitious move.
Knight h6. I'm pretty sure that this was not Magnus's calculation. That
Or,
what is
or
he going
g4.
to
He
play.
thought like, anyway, you cannot hide anymore because I will trap that bishop. And look at the line, knight f7, knight f2, knight g5, f4, and once
That
again,
king on g7.
yes, wins the game on the spot due to this pin. So that's a horrible scenario. And what else can he do? So it was the idea to dig in, but is he able to dig in, or he just loses the piece? Then it's game over. Yeah. Okay, he sacrifices, but this is a desperate sacrifice.
Well, as far as it's a sacrifice, yeah.
Yeah. It's a loss of a piece.
It's a desperation. But of course, Hans will fight. Fight his way.
Well, one could argue if black would have time to double on the f file, yeah, with some rook f, we could call it some kind of compensation, yeah, because there is activity. But it is white to move, and those are two extras, so basically he's missing 3 tempi.
Still, I think white has to be accurate to win. If, with some inaccurate moves, it can be that black is giving trouble for white.
Yeah, Magnus opted for rook d2, activating the rook. Rook f5 played, of course. Black has to rely on this doubling.
Well, there's nothing else black can do, right? But even after doubling, so what? But it's not so easy to break with white.
Exactly. So there is, I think, little frustration on Magnus that why is this not completely winning, yeah? Because he feels like he deserves to be completely winning. And sometimes when the clock ticks down, it's irritating situation, yeah? That you feel like it shouldn't be costing me any efforts, yeah? It should just
Maybe what about playing rook g2?
provoking the bishop move, yeah? If
Yeah,
bishop
because-
h3, then rook g3, you trap
Yes.
the bishop, and bishop f3, thank you very much, then rook f2, you start trading.
Yeah, or rook g3.
Well, he goes rook f. Honestly, I like your rook g2 even more. But yes, rook f2, queen c7 on the board. Rook ef1 would be a logical follow-up, and then with knight g3 kicking away this rook. Because we certainly don't want to take on f5, not allowing g takes f5.
But now bishop h3.
Then
maybe?
bishop g2.
Bishop g2.
Then bishop g2.
And you're happy to simplify.
Yes, any simplification which does not change the structure to your benefit is good for
Queen
me.
e7, trying to reach out to h4.
Yes, the queen is coming closer. Bishop g2.
And then eventually knight g3 will be pushing away the f5 rook.
Yeah, now Hans takes on f2. This is very much capitulation.
Queen f2.
Yeah. If he put the bishop on f5, that was the reason why he captured, but this does absolutely nothing. No pressure on white. Queen g3 we follow. Yep. On the board.
Well, after all, it's a piece up for 2 pawns only. But black has no real activity. There's a great outpost for the white knight on e4.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. Now if it's white to move, then bishop h3 would be a threat. Yeah, but rook f8. Yes. No, I mean, if king h8, yeah, then bishop, yeah, rook f8 had to be played. Now knight g5. Blocking h6 and then knight f3, knight h4. Can we also even do this, or we don't need to? We don't need to, of course.
Maybe you'll go king g5.
Also very logical. Very nice looking move. Very nice looking move, queen g5. You're winning on the spot. Because if queen d7, then already you can play knight g3 or whatever. All eyes on Magnus, down to 23 seconds. It's only 5 seconds increment. Knight c3, a slightly nervous move. Protecting the a4 pawn. He just says that I want to make sure that you don't get any bishop c2 counterplay.
Well, does he just simply want to go e4, exchange the rooks? Or just bishop e4? But the main idea is just to force the bishop from f5 away. Technically.
Yeah, that's also the reason why Hans opted for e4, but this case now his bishop is out of the game. Magnus plays h4 instantly. Now he just blocks the dark squares. Queen f4 come next. Yeah, this game looks like a one-man show so far, unless Hans is able to pull up some incredible miracle, but this is not in his hands. h5, king h2.
Just little scrolling up.
Yeah, you are piece
Queen
up and you
f4.
have the better position. Yeah, this is a very comfortable
Will he go
situation.
queen f4 or knight e2?
Well, queen f4 was the move that I called out already some while ago, but Magnus does not want to do it. Watch out for your clock. And he takes on e4. Wow, so he just went for this 4-second, yeah, he calculated.
Ah,
Okay.
nice tactics.
He even still had the nerves to calculate with 10 seconds of clock, and Hans resigns. Big win for Magnus.
Nice victory.
Yeah, very
Nice
one-sided.
victory. Very
one-sided,
straightforward.
So,
Nice
but this
victory.
gives us the chance. Levon is beating Fabi according to Evil Bar. Arjun
Yeah.
has beaten Vincent.
Wow.